Imagine this scenario for a moment. Today is June 16, 2025, and news breaks across the globe. An African nation has successfully tested its first nuclear weapon. The world holds its breath. For some, this might sound like a terrifying development, but for others it raises a complicated question. Could this be the one thing that finally makes the world sit up and take Africa seriously? The thinking goes that for centuries the continent has been carved up, exploited, and often ignored. Perhaps a nuclear weapon is the ultimate do not disturb sign, a guarantee that major world powers will finally have to treat African nations as equals, not as places to simply extract resources from. This idea of earning respect through fear is a powerful one. It suggests that if you have the ultimate weapon, no one can push you around anymore. No more unfair trade deals, no more foreign military bases without your full consent, no more lectures on how to run your own country. The bomb becomes a symbol of ultimate sovereignty. It's a way of saying, we are here, we are powerful, and you will listen to us now. In this fantasy, the nuclear weapon isn't about starting a war, it's about preventing one. It's about creating a balance of power where Africa is no longer at the bottom of the geopolitical food chain, but a formidable player at the global table. However, this entire dream runs completely opposite to Africa's official stance and its own history. The continent has worked hard to establish itself as a leader in disarmament. The African Union has championed the Treaty of Pelindaba, an agreement signed in 2009 that officially makes Africa a nuclear weapon-free zone. This isn't just a piece of paper, it's a statement of principle. The continent has seen enough conflict and its leaders have collectively decided that adding nuclear weapons to the mix is not the path to peace or prosperity. This position was reinforced as recently as September 2024, when the AU actively promoted the UN's global ban on nuclear weapons. Furthermore, we can't forget the one time an African nation actually did have the bomb. South Africa, under the apartheid regime, developed 6 nuclear devices back in the 1970s. But what happened next is the most telling part of the story. As the country transitioned to democracy, it made a historic choice. In 1994, South Africa voluntarily dismantled its entire nuclear arsenal, becoming the only country in the world to ever build and then give up nuclear weapons. This act wasn't seen as a moment of weakness, but as a moment of profound strength and moral leadership. So, for another African nation to pursue a bomb now would be to reject this powerful legacy. The idea that developing a nuclear weapon would make the world back off is, unfortunately, a dangerous misunderstanding of how global politics actually works. When powerful countries learn that a new nation is trying to join the nuclear club, they don't just pack their bags and go home. History shows us they do the exact opposite. Instead of leaving you alone, they become intensely interested in everything you do. The international response is almost always a firestorm of diplomatic pressure, crippling economic sanctions, and sometimes even covert operations or the threat of military action. The goal is not to respect your new power, but to contain and dismantle it before it can grow. Just look at the real-world examples. The United States and its allies have spent decades trying to stop Iran's nuclear program. This hasn't involved leaving Iran alone. It has involved some of the harshest sanctions in modern history, cyber attacks, and a constant state of tension that has brought the region to the brink of war multiple times. Similarly, consider Saudi Arabia. Even though it is a wealthy nation and a key U.S. partner, the idea of a Saudi bomb is met with extreme resistance from Washington. The West fears that a new nuclear state would trigger a regional arms race and destabilize the entire world, and they will do almost anything to prevent that from happening. An African nation with a new bomb would face this exact playbook. The reaction wouldn't be a respectful nod from across the ocean, it would be immediate and severe. The United States, Europe, and even other major powers like China and Russia would likely unite in their opposition. While these countries are often rivals, they generally agree on one thing: they don't want more fingers on the nuclear button. A new, independent nuclear state is an unpredictable variable that disrupts the established order. They would see it as a threat not just to regional stability in Africa, but to their own global influence and security as well. This pressure wouldn't just come from the outside either. A nuclear program would likely create deep divisions within Africa itself. The Treaty of Pelindaba isn't just a foreign policy document, it reflects a shared belief among many African nations that their security is best achieved through cooperation and disarmament, not through a terrifying arms race. A country breaking from this consensus would be seen as a betrayal. Neighbors might feel threatened, leading to a new era of suspicion and hostility on the continent. Imagine a scenario where Nigeria develops a bomb, prompting South Africa or Egypt to reconsider their own positions. The dream of being left alone could quickly turn into a nightmare of regional isolation and conflict. One of the biggest misconceptions is that possessing nuclear weapons automatically makes you a superpower. It's an appealingly simple formula: bomb equals power. But reality is far more complex. True superpower status isn't just about having the ability to destroy a city. It requires a combination of immense economic strength, global technological leadership, a powerful conventional military, and widespread cultural influence. A nuclear weapon can provide a strong defense, acting as a deterrent against invasion, but it can't build roads, feed people, or create jobs. It's a shield, not a foundation for a thriving nation. North Korea is perhaps the clearest example of this. It has nuclear weapons and the missiles to deliver them, making it a serious threat. But is it a superpower? Not even close. The country is diplomatically isolated, its people suffer from poverty and malnutrition, and its economy is incredibly weak. The bomb has kept the regime in power and prevented an outright invasion, but it hasn't brought prosperity or global respect. Instead, it has made North Korea a pariah state, locked out of the global economy and dependent on its few allies. This shows that a nuclear arsenal can be more of a cage than a key to the world stage. Furthermore, the cost of maintaining a nuclear arsenal is astronomical. In 2023 alone, the 9 nuclear-armed states spent over $91 billion just on maintaining and modernizing their weapons. For a developing African nation, this would be a crippling economic burden. Every dollar spent on a missile silo is a dollar not spent on a hospital, a school, or a power plant. The resources required to develop, secure, and maintain a nuclear program could divert critical funds away from the very things that actually build a nation's strength and improve the lives of its citizens: education, healthcare, and infrastructure. There's also a dangerous paradox to consider. While nuclear weapons can prevent a full-scale war between two nuclear powers, the stability part, they can also make smaller conflicts more likely, the instability part. This is known as the instability-stability paradox. Look at India and Pakistan. Both have nuclear weapons, which has likely prevented an all-out war between them. However, knowing that a major conflict is off the table, they have engaged in numerous smaller border skirmishes and supported proxy conflicts. A nuclear shield can embolden a country to be more aggressive in other ways, knowing it has the ultimate insurance policy. This could lead to more, not less, conflict in a region. So, what is the right path for Africa? The continent stands at a crossroads, facing a choice between two very different futures. One path involves chasing the mirage of respect through nuclear deterrence. This is a path paved with immense risks: international isolation, crippling economic sanctions, a potential regional arms race, and the diversion of precious resources away from development. It's a path that goes against the continent's own hard-won principles of peace and disarmament. While the desire to be treated as an equal on the world stage is completely valid, the nuclear option is a shortcut that likely leads to a dead end. The alternative path is to continue building power in a different way. This involves doubling down on the things that create true, sustainable strength. It means investing in education, technology, and innovation. It means strengthening democratic institutions, promoting good governance, and fighting corruption. It means fostering economic growth through intra-African trade and building infrastructure that connects the continent. This is the slower, harder path, but it is the one that leads to genuine prosperity and lasting respect. A continent that can feed, educate, and provide opportunities for its people is a true global power, with or without a bomb. The voices of African leaders today largely reflect this second vision. They continue to advocate for a nuclear-free world, not because they are naive, but because they understand the real drivers of security and development. They know that Africa's strength lies in its people, its resources, and its potential for collective action, not in a weapon that brings with it a legacy of fear and destruction. The rest of the world, for its part, also has a role to play. If major powers want to discourage nuclear proliferation, they must engage with African nations as genuine partners, offering fair trade, investment, and a real seat at the table where global decisions are made. Ultimately, the question is not whether Africa can build a bomb, but whether it should. The allure of the ultimate weapon is strong, especially for a continent that has long been marginalized. But the evidence from history and the reality of modern geopolitics suggest it is a false promise. True power and respect are not earned through threats of annihilation. They are built brick by brick through economic development, social progress, and a commitment to peace. Africa's greatest strength lies not in adopting the destructive tools of the old superpowers, but in forging a new path based on its own unique values and vision for the future.